The eternal silence of these infinite spaces terrifies me. There are words that never leave our lips, thoughts we bury inside carrying a weight far greater than we admit. This is the hidden burden of silence, the invisible pressure of unspoken emotions. They do not vanish when ignored. They grow in secret, pressing against the mind, shaping the body, whispering through every gesture we make. Freud called this repression. The mind buries what it cannot face. It hides away the unbearable, pushing it into the depths of the unconscious. But what is buried is never destroyed. It remains alive, moving beneath the surface, returning in masks we fail to recognize. Anxiety, irritability, tension, fatigue that no rest can fix. Even the body becomes a stage for silence, carrying the weight of what was never expressed. We like to believe silence is neutral, that it protects us from conflict. But Freud revealed the paradox. Repression may shield us in the short term, but it imprisons us in the long run. Silence builds walls, yet inside those walls the energy of unspoken truth swells. We keep it within to avoid pain, but in doing so we create another kind of pain, the one that corrodes slowly, invisibly. This is why silence speaks louder than words. It speaks through our nervous habits, through the tone of our presence, through the way we carry ourselves in a room. Silence has a language, and that language reveals more than speech. The person who says nothing often tells the loudest story. There are things you never voiced, and yet they shape you every day. The silence you kept to preserve peace. The silence you held to avoid rejection. The silence you carried because you believed no one would understand. That silence has weight. And in truth, it has always been speaking. Speaking in the pauses between your sentences. Speaking in the heaviness of your chest. Speaking in the patterns you cannot explain. Silence protects. Silence imprisons. Silence destroys. Silence transforms. It is never neutral. It always speaks. There is a vibration in every thought, every emotion, every unspoken truth. When we silence ourselves, that vibration does not vanish. It lingers, trapped inside, creating dissonance between what we feel and what we emit. On the surface, we present calmness. Inside, we vibrate with chaos. And that gap between inner storm and outer mask is where the silent frequency begins to fracture us. To repress an emotion is to force the rational brain to battle the emotional brain. The prefrontal cortex works to suppress, while the limbic system overflows. Neuroscience shows that suppression is never neutral. It requires constant effort, draining our energy reserves. We imagine silence conserves strength, but in truth, it consumes it. Every time we push something down, we pay the price in exhaustion, in tension, in lowered resonance. And so, silence is not absence of communication. It is distorted communication. It is the voice of the unsaid echoing through the body, through posture, through subtle expressions. A tight jaw, a restless hand, a breath that will not flow. These are the silent signals of repression. They reveal more than the carefully chosen words we speak aloud. The hidden cost of pretending calmness is immense. We walk through life carrying invisible static, a vibration that others feel even when no word is spoken. Silence has weight and others sense it. They may not name it, but they feel the unspoken storm. And within us, that storm builds pressure, waiting for release. The silent frequency is not absence. It is distortion. Like a radio stuck between stations, buzzing with interference. The longer we live in that vibration, the more we lose coherence, the more our inner and outer worlds drift apart. The human soul cannot survive such a split forever. Eventually, what is silenced finds its way back, through breakdowns, through symptoms, through eruptions of truth. Jung once said that what we repress does not disappear. It waits in the shadows, shaping our destiny in silence. The unspoken is never gone. It becomes shadow, the hidden counterpart of our identity. Every part of ourselves that we exile into silence grows darker, heavier, more commanding from the depths of the unconscious. When we avoid confrontation with our own darkness, we strengthen it. The emotions we silence do not dissolve. They gather, power underground. Anger unspoken returns as bitterness. Fear denied returns as paralysis. Desire buried returns as shame. Silence does not erase, it disguises. And the disguise makes the shadow harder to recognize, harder to heal. We confuse repression with resilience. We mistake silence for strength. We believe that holding it in means control. But silence built on fear is not mastery, it is avoidance. Strength is not the absence of expression. It is the courage to look into the mirror of the shadow and name what is found there. And even when we refuse, the shadow leaks through us. It seeps into our relationships, into the way we treat others, into the way we treat ourselves. It manifests in passive aggressiveness, in psychosomatic pain, in sudden bursts of emotion that feel foreign. But they are not foreign. They are the unspoken, finally speaking. Every repressed emotion vibrates through our presence. We carry it in our gestures, in our silences, in the energy we bring into every space. The shadow always finds a voice, even if we refuse to give it one. Silence is paradox. It can be wisdom, it can be prison, it can be the voice of mastery or the mask of erasure. The same silence that heals in one moment can suffocate in another. The difference lies not in the silence itself, but in its source. Whether it is chosen or imposed, Schopenhauer saw clearly that suppression does not dissolve pain. It multiplies it. What we silence grows sharper within us. What we bury continues to gnaw. Silence, when unconscious, does not bring peace. It breeds inner warfare, and many mistake that war for calm, confusing repression with serenity. This is the existential trap. To remain silent may feel like strength, but silence born of fear is not wisdom. True silence is chosen. False silence is forced. One expands the soul, the other diminishes it. We see this in toxic relationships. Silence becomes both shield and cage. At times it protects us, at other times it erases us. The silence of fear drains life, the silence of mastery deepens it. Silence can be clarity. Silence can be decay. Freedom comes only when we learn the difference. The body remembers what the voice forgets. Suppression does not vanish into air. It imprints on the nervous system. Stress hormones flood. The immune system weakens. Muscles tighten and hold until tension becomes chronic. Illness emerges, not as fabrication, but as the body's protest against the silence of the mind. Neuroscience tells us that repression hijacks the brain. The prefrontal cortex struggles to keep emotions buried, while the amygdala continues to fire. The result is a body locked in loops of silent stress. The conflict is rehearsed again and again, even when we pretend nothing is wrong, and so we escape into distraction. Dopamine becomes the easy release. Addiction, compulsive scrolling, endless consumption, these are not random. They are ways of avoiding the weight of unspoken truth. Silence seeks outlets, and the body finds them in craving, in compulsion, in restless cycles. But the truth remains. The body is louder than the voice we withhold. It tells the story we refuse to narrate. A knot in the throat, a pain in the stomach, an ache in the chest. These are not only symptoms, they are words. They are the voice of silence demanding to be heard. There is a way through. Expressive writing, speaking aloud in solitude, letting the voice or the pen carry what was never allowed to surface. Neuroscience calls this neurocleansing, a release that reorganizes memory, reduces the burden on the brain, restores coherence. To the nervous system, what the voice buries, the body remembers, and what the body remembers, it will one day force us to face. Silence is Pandora's box. Repression is the sealed container. From the outside, it looks safe, untouched, under control. But inside, chaos stirs. Every avoided truth, every swallowed emotion, every denied memory waits behind the lid. The longer it stays closed, the more explosive it becomes. Eventually, the box breaks. Chaos erupts, sometimes destructively, through conflict, through breakdowns, through illness. What we avoided bursts forth, demanding attention. But the myth holds a lesson. In Pandora's jar, after all the chaos had escaped, one thing remained: hope. And so it is with silence. Within repression lies not only destruction, but possibility. The same container that holds our chaos also hides our strength. When we dare to open it consciously, silence releases more than darkness. It releases light. Silence is not absence. It is potential. Ignored, it poisons. Faced directly, it transforms. To break silence consciously is to step into individuation, to reclaim the voice we lost, to integrate the shadow we feared, to discover that within the wound lies the seed of healing. Nietzsche once wrote, "What does not kill us makes us stronger." Applied to silence, the truth is sharper. Silence does not kill, but unconscious silence drains vitality. Conscious silence, however, remakes us. It does not erase the wound, it forges the voice. Silence imposed by fear leads to disappearance. Silence chosen in awareness leads to strength. The art is in the transmutation, turning the silence of repression into the ground from which authentic expression can grow. Silence is not weakness. It is strength when inhabited with awareness, but only when it ceases to be repression and becomes revelation. Only when the words withheld are transformed into presence, into clarity, into truth. The task is not to abandon silence, but to live differently within it, to hear its hidden frequency, to let it become fertile ground, not prison. Freedom begins not when we kill the noise, but when we allow silence to speak its truth. And in that moment we understand. Silence was never the end of voice. It was always the place where the true voice was waiting to be born.